Good evening. Am I on? Yes. Hello, how are you all? Lovely to see you here. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Fee MacDonald, or Fiona MacDonald, if you are my mother. And I am one of 3 Associate Artistic Directors at Queensland Theatre. I am the AAD who looks after our education and youth program. I've been in this job for about 3 months, so this is very new for me. Thank you. And this is my... Have we got all 3 of us? Dan Evans, who is our 2nd Associate Artistic Director, and behind you is the lovely Isaac Durandich, who is the 3rd in our triumvirate of our Associate Artistic Directors. I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of all of us at Queensland Theatre to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are gathered here tonight, the Yagara and the Turrbal people, and pay my deepest respects to elders past and present, and share my great gratitude and my joy at being able to share stories on this land that has had stories told on it for millennia, always was, always will be, and my biggest love and respect. Please bear with me tonight. This is my first play briefing for Queensland Theatre.
You're doing really well.
Thanks, Dan. Dan's old hat, and there's lots of people here who have done this, and you've probably been to a lot more than I have. So feel free to give me some notes. I'll take them on the chin, just like this mic, lining it up neatly. A note for everybody, just in case you didn't see any of the signs, we are recording this evening. If you have any concerns about that, please see our ushers. And also just a reminder, please no photos or videos, despite this absolutely stunning set behind us. So, we're gathered here this evening to talk about our version of Medea. I'd also, one more thing actually, I just want to have a moment to say thank you. Thank you to our subscribers, thank you to our visionaries, our legends, thank you to all of you who buy tickets to our shows, and thanks for coming to hear about this truly exciting piece of theatre that all of these incredible people on this stage have helped bring together. This is an incredible opportunity to hear about the magic that's happening, to get little secrets and snippets. Oh, hello, there's people over there too. Secrets and snippets about how we're making this particular show. Now, the people on stage with me, I've introduced you to the delightful Dan Evans. Then we have Helen Cassidy, who's playing the title role of Medea. Then we have Chloe Greaves, who is our set and costume designer. Who's next? Mike Wilmot, our composer and sound designer, and Matt Scott, who's our lighting designer, and the lovely Sophia, who is our Auslan interpreter. Thank you, Sophia. Now, you may notice that there are some people missing from this stage. We have 4 young people who are cast in this production, and they can't be with us tonight because IR laws say so. Our young people, the lovely Jeremiah, Edward, Orlando and Felix, are only allowed to work 12 hours per week. So they are driving all of those hours hard into rehearsals, and they'll be into production later this week. So as much as we would have loved to have them here, unfortunately you don't get to meet them tonight in person, but we will get to show you some videos and you'll get to meet them digitally. Can I also flag, because we are recording tonight, when it does come time for question and answer, I'll repeat the question. This is for all of us as well. I'll repeat the question into the microphone just so we can make sure that everyone playing along at home gets to hear it, and so all of you can hear it as well. Now, before I embark on Medea and all of the things, I did just want to have a moment to acknowledge Medea and the story of Medea, the myth of Medea and our modern Medea. This content is quite heavy. This content deals with filicide. It's an age-old myth. It's been around a lot longer than we have, but in a contemporary setting, this work, it does deal with domestic violence. So I encourage you to work through this content gently and to let go lightly as well. Now, many of you will be very familiar, I imagine, with the Medea myth, with the traditional Euripides story. For those of you, though, who perhaps aren't as familiar, I wanted to give you the original myth. And hot tip, this really helps in watching our story as well. So let me tell you the original Medea myth. When Medea, a skilled sorceress from the land of Colchis, met Jason, a brave hero from Greece, They were both spellbound by one another. Jason and his army of Argonauts arrived in Colchis seeking the Golden Fleece, the skin of a flying ram thought to have magical healing properties to reclaim his kingdom. Using her magical knowledge, Medea helped Jason overcome a series of seemingly impossible challenges set by her father, King Aeetes. Did I say that right? Yeah, copy. Said it right, thanks.
Doing good.
Always look to the actress. To help win the prized Golden Fleece. This pact between the pair ignited a passionate love affair and enraged the king, Medea's father. Fleeing Colchis together, they faced perilous adventures and formed a deep bond. Their joy, however, was fleeting. In a bid for political flavour, Jason decided to abandon Medea and their 2 sons, marrying Glauce, the daughter of King Creon in the land of Corinth. In turn, Medea plotted a devastating revenge. She sent Glauce a poisoned robe disguised as a gift, resulting in her death. King Creon, attempting to save his daughter, also died. And, in the most famous version of the myth, to inflict further agony on Jason, Medea took the lives of their children. It's a light comedy. Yeah. So that's what I was saying about please take this content gently. It has deep resonance to what's happening in our world today, despite it being an age-old myth. Where am I up to? So, of course, Medea is an incredibly famous character. That hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. All of these lines that we know about this incredible character. Put my notes down. However, the production that we're going to be sharing with you in the next few weeks is a completely different version. This story focuses on the 2 most silent characters in the Medea myth, the children. And they're arguably 2 of the most tragic siblings of all time. The contemporary adaptation that we're sharing is written by Kate Mulvany and Anne-Louise Sarks, 2 incredible Australian writers and directors who originally adapted and staged this work in 2012. It's since played across the country and around the globe, and we're really excited to present it here in the Bille Brown this month. In our production, we have 2 casts, as I said before. Because our young people can't work more than 12 hours a week, we have a Hercules cast and we have a Cornelius cast. Let me share with you now what happens in our version of Medea. We see brothers sharing a bedroom. There are 2 boys, Jasper 10 and Leon 12. They're playing. They're playing as boys do, as brothers do. It's joyful, playful, at times violent, very energetic, and of course argumentative. This is their world. We are voyeurs looking in on young brothers in a contemporary world, the here and now. There are Nerf guns, a fish tank, Lego, Star Wars and an iPad. Through their play and their dialogue, it soon becomes apparent that these brothers are locked in their bedroom. They've been here a while, and they don't know when they're being let out. They know that their parents are arguing. They don't really know what about. After about 30 minutes of seeing these young people explore everything from the story of their father Jason and his Argonauts, the love of their mother and father, dad's friend, Medea finally storms in, harrowed, heightened, exasperated. She tells the boys that they're going to live with their father and he will be here soon. So they better clean up their room. What a good mum. Their room is cleaned, they fight. We see the sporty older brother Leon become emotionally impacted by Medea and become wildly aggressive towards his toys, a glimmer into the warrior he might become like his father Jason. We see Jasper become so confused and upset, still a long way from being worldly or street smart. The younger brother is supported through a blood nose, a toilet accident, and a big blow to his confidence struck by his older brother. We also see tenderness and we see brotherly love. The unknowing boys write a card to Dad's friend and Medea delivers a present from one woman to another. And after much coming and going from Medea, always locking the door behind her, Medea returns to dress the boys, ready for their father's arrival. They're gifted a treat for waiting patiently, and they snuggle up in bed with their mum, who tells them how she loves them more than anyone or anything. A lot of things happen in that time, obviously. Now, for me, as the AAD of the Education and Youth team, who's dedicated a large part of my life to making work for and with young people, it's really incredible to have a work like this handed to young people to perform. It's incredible when young people are gifted a story that's complex, that is incredibly weighted in our society, and it allows them to actually show us their sophistication in processing incredibly difficult concepts. And that's just what these incredible young people are doing. And that's a great segue for me into talking to these incredible creatives. So Dan.
Yes. Hello.
We're going to show you a video in a moment of our young people, but I just wanted to get straight to Dan, our director of this work. Dan, you've got a bit of a history with this particular production, don't
I've got a history with the Greeks. I love them.
The Greeks.
I do have a history with this work. This work was due to go on a couple of years ago with a whole different cast of young people, but always with Helen, who's always been my Medea.
Yeah, baby.
I was like, one day we will do this work. That was the year, what was that year? Oh, that's right, it was 2020. And so that work had a whole new cast, but many of this creative team, I was still working with Chloe and Mike on this adaptation, and with Kate and Annie Lou. We were so excited, and we were about to go into the theatre when there was news of a virus, and we weren't quite sure what was going on, and we're like, well, hold tight, kids, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. That never happened, unfortunately. So the lads who were originally cast in that show have since grown up. They're now, I think, 17, 18, 20. And so there's a whole new crop of amazing young people performing in this version, one of whom is the younger brother of one of those original cast members, which is pretty special. So I've been following this work for ages because I think it's such a beautiful and joyful relensing of this myth. And I know that sounds like a contradiction of terms when you listen to everything that you've just said, but I think what's great about this version is that before it does turn dark and a bit sad, it's actually full of life. The play is so full of life. And while it may not sound very fun, it's been a very, very fun room to be in, because let me tell you, working with 4 young people under 12 really keeps you on your toes. I'd just like to say to any parents, grandparents, caregivers in the room, I'd just like to say I have enormous respect for you. I feel as though I have aged 15 years since the beginning of this process.
Can't tell, doll, can't tell. Looking good.
And I'm losing my voice. So I've loved this, and I love the challenge and the adventure and the conceit of the challenge at the heart of this, which is this. When this play starts, there are 2 young people on stage, and they will be on that stage for approximately 80 minutes. The lights do not go down. There are no scene changes. It becomes very clear very early on that you're watching the last 80 minutes of these 2 young people's lives, and that is thrilling and dark and adventurous and exciting, and it's up to 2 people under 12 to hold that journey for you. Helen does an incredible job, but she only intervenes into the drama 3 times. The rest of the play is completely held by those young people, which is incredible. And if you ask me how they've done it, I really don't know.
Dan has had a lot to do with that, obviously.
Well, they are, I do. They've been amazing to work with, and maybe we should meet them.
Let's meet them. Can we roll our video of our gorgeous young people, please?
My name is Jeremiah, and I am playing Leon in Medea.
Hi, I'm Edward, and I am playing the role of Jasper in Medea.
So some acting advice that I have for the audience is when you're acting on stage, make sure that you're big, make sure that you're bright, and make sure to have fun.
Have fun, but apart from that, I can't give anything because I've just started. I'm looking for acting advice, not giving it.
Hey, I'm Orlando, and I'm going to be playing Leon in Medea.
Hi, I'm Felix, and I'm going to be playing Jasper in Medea.
What do I think it takes to be a good actor? Mainly determination, but you also just have to enjoy it. like just be in the moment.
Concentrated, spend a lot of time learning the lines, actually feeling your character and what, like, when you're in the show, not what you would do, what the actual actor would do in that situation.
Learning lines for this show is
really, really hard.
He has like 50 or something.
Lines, just lines? No, I have over, I reckon, 400.
Just nervous about the final, like when it actually comes to the actual show, like, will I remember my lines? What will the audience think?
Remembering where you have to go on the stage, what timing you have to do, if you have to wait for a break or not, and it's just like, you need to remember that all in your brain.
Mainly remembering all the blocking that Dan gives us, because
It's a lot of blocking.
because we're on stage for 70 minutes.
78
minutes.
Lines and knowing when I need to say a line and when I need to wait for the buzzing sound. The buzzing noises, so I don't wait too long or don't wait enough. It could be like the sound of the wood like scraping across the floor, or like a boom, but the audience can't hear it. So I know when to do stuff, but they aren't like, what's that buzzing noise going on? Because they can't hear it, so they have to assume, oh wow, that must have been difficult to do, to actually count in his head.
Dan is an amazing director.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Really good. And he makes sure that we're having fun while working hard.
He puts less pressure on our shoulders.
Yeah.
It feels really like special because like I know that there are not many kids out there who would have a chance to do this and see what it feels like to actually be in a professional play. Some parts are really fun, and other parts you have to work really hard. Pretty much all evens out in funness and workness.
Funness and workness.
Funness and workness, everybody.
workness.
They are our gorgeous Cornelius and Hercules cast, and they are actually that funny in real life. Dan, can you tell us a little bit about working with those 4 young people, please, and some of the direction that you are doing and some of the processes that you're taking?
Of course. So this is a very different process, as you might imagine, because we only have access to these young people for 12 hours a week. So they probably had the equivalent of 2.5 weeks rehearsal to stage this production for you. And it was really important for me that this felt as authentic and as joyful for them as possible, because so much of the show is, and I've been very careful to carve the blocking or the movement on stage actually out of what they've given or what they've offered to the room. And so in finding our way through this script, we've played a lot of games, like a lot of drama games. We've done a lot of endowment activities. We've all done like a Nerf battle fight. We've all thrown teddy bears across the room. We've played Grandma's Footsteps a lot. And we've made the play became the play. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yes. In the biz, we call it process as product.
Yeah, process as product. Yeah. And so basically what we've done is really use them to authentically reveal the way through this thing, so it feels like you are genuinely, realistically, naturalistically watching a young person's bedroom.
And that was how the play was written.
Yeah, and originally made. It was made through devised exercises with Annie, Lou and Kate on a cast 10 years ago now. So that's been wonderful. It's been so lovely watching them watch our own little rituals that we do and going, what's that about? And it's also been lovely to watch their own rituals and also to see this entire team treat them as actual actors. We don't mollycoddle, we don't talk down to them. They are actors in every sense of the word, and we treat them like they are actual living, breathing, sentient human being actors.
They are. I promise you, they're not robots. They're real people. Yes. Can I ask you a question, Helen?
Please.
You have 4 young people, 2 different casts.
Yes.
But always you as Medea.
Yes.
How is it having 2 different sets of children?
It's been endlessly entertaining and delightful and unexpected and wild, hasn't it? There are moments where you catch yourself and you realise that the actor that you're working with is 10 years old, 8 years old, 13 years old. And some of the depths that I go to can be pretty confronting, I think. And then I think, for instance, I came out and I was quite visibly upset and the boys are looking at me, and one of them perhaps was having difficulty making eye contact, and it occurred to me, of course, you've perhaps never seen an adult this close, this upset before. I mean, these are big experiences that we've all been kind of processing together and figuring a path through gently, and teaching processes. Another funny thing we discovered is that sometimes we'll change blocking with one cast, and then you'll have the other second cast in the afternoon, and you'll do the blocking during the run, and as you're mid-block, you go, oh, it was the other cast. And I've totally thrown them because they're just there going, what? That's not what we do. So there've been many moments where we've clocked that we haven't changed things,
Yes.
or the version that we're doing is the other cast's version.
Because
things
we've let them find the shapes separately, so they've never met each other. So they know that they're a dual cast, but they've never seen each other's version of the show, and that felt really important to us. So they could find and carve their own way through it. That's unique to them. And so what you've ended up with, really, is two very different shows that feel
Incredibly
quite different. And the central offering of each of those versions feels significantly different. Yeah.
Yeah, and I encourage you to see both.
Yeah, come see both.
By the way,
I'll sneak you in.
Genuinely do, because they are. It is two different shows, and it really is quite remarkable. And I'm reflecting back on the audition when one of the young people, Helen, came in and had a moment with them as part of their audition, and at the end he just turned around and went, "Yeah, I can see why she got the job." And these incredible,
great.
powerful statements from 8-year-olds that, you just, any parents and grandparents in the room, they're full of one-liners.
And they're very cheeky. I mean, one of them, who shall remain
nameless.
When I said, now listen, you can't keep firing the gun at the ceiling. Please don't do that, because every time you do, the bullet gets stuck. It gets lodged in the rehearsal room ceiling. And he was like, I said, do you understand? He's like, I understand. And then, sure enough, we did the scene, and he does it again, and I go, why did you do that? I asked you not to. And he goes, no, you said I shouldn't do it, but not that my character shouldn't do it.
Oh,
It's
genius.
like, my character made that choice. And I was like, touche.
That's a good one.
Yes. So I encourage you to see them both again. Book 2 lots of tickets. Thank you.
Cheeky.
Helen, can I stick with you for a moment?
Absolutely. I'm all you've got when it comes to actors.
Lucky you're a powerhouse. Now, you enter the stage 3 times?
Yes.
4 times. The majority of the show is spent off stage for you, and
That's right.
you really are needing to be in quite a state when you enter. How's that process going? What's that like?
It's been quite a journey. Dan and I had a great time building Medea's backstory, all the way from her youth, her childhood, what on earth could have happened, what were her relationships like with her family, what kind of traumas did she experience as a child to become the woman she became, make the choices she made. The immediate backstory, what's happened with her and Jason, we've taken it to be a sort of 3-week, we're at the end of a 3-week relational fallout, so it's 3 weeks since she found out that Jason is leaving her for another woman. In this version, it's hyper real, as you can see from the set. We are really looking through the fishbowl. Everything's going to be as naturalistic as possible. And in that vein, it requires a process that would be very different from performing the Euripidean version. So I will say it's getting a bit Daniel Day-Lewis back there in the backstage area. I do have my zone set up. For me, as an actor with my process, I don't want to become Medea, but I don't want to slip back into Helen in the times that I'm off stage. That's very important. So for me, once I've entered the zone and gotten myself at the vibration I need to be in with the thought processes that I need to have going on, I want to stay there. So my process backstage is quite unusual because I want to stay in the story. So I've kind of set things up for myself and set up a zone for myself. I don't go back to my dressing room. That would be far too real and distracting. I don't want to see a phone. I don't want to see the time. I have hopefully a little darkened space where I can read some more stimulating material, read through some monologues, some books, listen to music. I've even got little activities that are akin to what Medea might be realistically doing within the course of that 80 minutes. So I can keep myself busy and basically stay in the world of make-believe, because these lucky boys just get to be on stage for 80 minutes, which in some ways is easier. When you're on stage and you're in the story, you're in the story. But I really don't want to lose that thread, because for me as an actor with my process, it's far harder to go off, to get back into character if I go off and I drop everything, when I leave stage. So that's a bit of an insight into Medea backstage. And yes, she does enter in quite a state. But yeah, that's also kind of fun as an actor in your craft. Our craft is the capacity to be able to turn on and off those emotions and kind of paint with them like a great painter might paint with, colours. We can hopefully paint the world with emotions. Yeah.
You are certainly doing that. You are doing a remarkable job. Every rehearsal I have seen is quite outstanding, and the painting is rich, let me tell you that much. You know what else is rich? This incredible set behind us. How beautiful is this set? Chloe Greaves, this is a remarkable piece of art that is sitting here behind us. Can we just give Chloe a round of applause, please? And our beautiful production team, Dan, and all of the crew, Chris, for building this, and our workshop team.
Yeah, we had an amazing crew. There was 9 men and women for the last 2 days, working around the clock building this, and it might look simple, but it's so complicated. So huge shout out to the workshop team here, because they're amazing.
Thanks, workshop team and production team. It looks stunning. Chloe, can you tell us about why the fish tank? Why the voyeurism? Tell us about the hyperrealism. Tell us about this.
So I guess in some ways this has been a really long journey for Dan and I, because we first started dreaming about this play in 2019, really, because we were building up to the 2020 production, which didn't happen. And then, a year ago you came to me and you were like, hey, want to do that show again? And I was like, oh, cool. And I guess what the script calls for is a boy's bedroom. But what is interesting to me about this text is stylistically the writing is like hypernaturalism. Plays in real time. The language is really naturalistic. And also, so I came to Dan and I said, look, we'd had this idea of a real boy's bedroom the first time around, and that still really resonated with us. With the ceiling and everything, but I came to her and I said, I think we're missing a beat, and I think what we need is, we need to put them into a glass box. And there's quite a few reasons behind this, but initially, I guess, one of the things that really amps up the tension of the piece is the fact that the boys are trapped. The mother has locked them in this room. And so to create a space where they really feel trapped felt important to me. But there's a few other things that I think this setting does for us, one of which is that it really creates this sense of voyeurism. So you are looking in at these children. It's almost like watching television. There's a sense of disconnect in a way from them, but it's also like you're at the zoo watching them in their enclosure. And I think in the context of what this work is about, which is a part of what this work is about, is domestic violence and it's like peeking through the window of that house next door and seeing the thing that you might not normally be able to see that's going on behind the walls. Also, one of the key things in the script is the fish, and there's these fish in the fish tank, which is currently hidden underneath
obscured
towel.
by a screen, sorry.
But we have 2 real fish, and so also the set becomes like a macrocosm of the microcosm of the fish in the fish tank, and the boys are the fish in that fish tank. Did you want to add anything? I mean, there's a lot of symbolism behind glass as well that relates to ancient Greek culture and their relationship to glass, which was particularly used in death ceremonies. So that feels really poignant to us for this production as well. But what I have done with this design is created a raft of issues for lighting and sound.
Thanks, Chloe. I was about to jump to Matt.
Because as you can see, we have a ceiling, but we also have glass. So that creates some exciting opportunities, but also some significant
Good collaboration.
And I think in some ways it's like you always collaborate really like heavily between departments, but we really had to collaborate really strongly on this one. Like there's not one decision where I haven't been able to like turn to these two and be like, is it okay if I do this thing? Or like, what do you think about this? So it's been like really beautiful in that sense.
Thanks, Chloe. It truly is remarkable. And I want to throw to you now, Matt, because generally speaking, you know, a lighting designer wouldn't normally be needing to light through glass.
Sure, yeah.
And potentially not in such a deeply realistic way as well. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the magic and your vision for lighting, please?
Oh, yeah, sure. Spoilers for everyone that's here. As Chloe just said, it is a collaboration, and it's a really exciting one. Getting on board with the journey of the glass from day one has been really, really great, because it's meant that, you know, I've had this in my mind for a while now, like since last year. So this idea of the kind of slice of life, the kind of that you're looking into a piece of hyper-realism, hyper-naturalism, is also offset by the fact that it's sitting in a theatre. And so that's the kind of, I guess that's the equation that I'm playing with light, I'll say that most of the lights that are hanging above you are actually for you, not for what's going on inside the glass. Spoilers. From day one, we kind of talked about, and I keep on bringing it up in production meetings, it's like love the glass, love the reflections, accept the reflections. And so that's actually kind of we're going to use that as a tool all the way through. So it is hyper-real. There's sort of a naturalistic sense of light within the room. We've sort of talked about it being sort of late afternoon, moving into evening. So it's kind of, they've been trapped in the room for quite some time. And so we'll be suggesting that passing of time, but in a really subtle way. And then as the play kind of develops, it gets into, Mike will talk about this a little bit more with his work, it gets into this kind of incredibly heightened world. And we've used the word mythos a lot. And we've used the word museum and zoo and all these things a lot, but it's all about elevating it. So, and I don't want anyone to even notice that it's being elevated, but as we get further and further to the conclusion, the space becomes more magical through light and the way that light and sound interact with what's going on inside, but also what's going on outside the glass. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I can see all sorts of, you know, fixture holes and fittings. So I imagine in terms of what's happening inside.
Oh my God, there is an amazing nightlight. Look out for it. And what is it? It's a meerkat.
Yes.
It's a meerkat nightlight, and it will not be. It will be journeying home with me. Because it's amazing.
There's also a whole world going on inside the fish tank as well. So there's this kind of like very slowly moving world of light within this box that I'm hoping will immediately look kind of very naturalistic, and then by the time you walk out of the theatre, you'll be been transformed into another world.
Absolutely. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. And someone else who's helping transport us into other worlds is our dear friend Mike Wilmot over there. Yes. Mike, firstly, how are we going to hear anything these young people are saying behind a glass box?
Thank you, Fee. Well, this was our first challenge, of course. The boys are all microphoned up in there, but the sort of joy that this glass brings us is a little bit of a soundproof screen in a way. So it's a little bit more like a film set. So we have this lovely ability to be inside the box with them and hear them from inside the box. And then we have this lovely ability to give more to you outside the box that they never hear. So we have this real divide between the natural hyperism of what they will hear during the show, as Edward was saying earlier, little buzz noises and things like that. They often don't get a lot of the score in this piece. It's for you. These big long fades of the mythos coming in to remind you of the weight of the years of this myth that exist out there, and then to continually snap us back into just a small room with two boys. And so the glass is a really interesting challenge for us, and wouldn't be able to do it without the help of the QT sound team here, who have already played with glass before on a previous show called Emerald City. So without their knowledge, it would be a very different story. But we have a lot of hidden things in that room. We have a lot of soundproofing in the roof. We have carpets on the floor. We have hidden speakers in there just for them. And so it's a really, really fun world to play with because you get this lovely naturalism versus heavy myth outside the box.
So you're basically running 2 sound designs, Mike?
Correct, yes, yeah. Rehearsal was an interesting process as well because we didn't want to give too much away to the boys, knowing that when they came into here, they're going to hear a lot less than they did in the rehearsal room. So it'll be a really interesting week as we sort of build it around them in this space.
Yeah, it's been really interesting watching them as well. As soon as there's new sound introduced, they're kind of looking and getting distracted. So it's going to be, I think, quite remarkable to kind of really feel, particularly for you, Helen, as the one who goes between, the real kind of stark silence in some ways with the fish tank bubbling in the room, and then actually all of this mood and emotion that you're building out here, Mike.
Yeah. One thing to point out, though, is they might not hear it, but they're going to feel it. Because right above that stage are two enormous subwoofers. So they will sense it more than hear it as things are going on. So they'll still get the tension that you might get, but in a very different mode.
Great, I love that. And there's a bit of Eddie alluded to it in the video, not alluded to, he talked about it really explicitly. There's a bit of a queuing system, I hear, with our stage managers and...
Magician's secrets revealed. Young people struggle to recognise the length of time and silence. And so the script mandates a couple of points where there's 1 minute of silence. And so when we tried to do this organically, Eddie started talking after 8 seconds. So we developed a technique whereby we can play buzzers and noises in there that you won't hear that tell them it's time to start, or that moment's finishing and this new moment's beginning. And they're getting better at that, but they kind of, it's interesting, their perception of time is quite different to ours. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that's probably good to talk about in this forum a little bit as well is the young people's well-being as well. There's been quite an enormous process. This team is remarkable at really caring for our young people. Obviously, they're not here very much, so much is being done, and then they walk in and just get thrown into it. But there's also an enormous team. Damien Tatum is here somewhere, maybe, or he might have gone home. Damien's our chaperone, so Damien works with our young people round the clock. He is their guiding light from the moment they are dropped off to the moment they are picked up. He is their notes, he is their reminders, he is their warm-up, he is their, have you put your shoes on, Eddie? Jeremiah, where are your socks? In that role, and very well cared for. And Dan has worked incredibly well. This is very heavy content for young people. They do know what happens to them in the story. They know what happens. And, it's my firm belief that young people deal with incredibly heavy content every day of their life. They're surrounded by it in the media. They're quite resilient as long as they have incredible support around them, and they can process complex and sophisticated concepts. And they're really doing that incredibly well here. And the teams, Dan and the stage management team and Damien are working really hard with Pip, our producer, and the ACT and the department and the IR laws to make sure that it is an incredibly positive experience for these young people, both as their premiere on our Queensland Theatre stage, their professional premiere, but also in terms of their well-being with the content. Thank you. Is there any closing remarks from anyone up here before we open out questions to our audience tonight?
No, except to say I think you're in for a real it's a real experiment. It is an absolute adventure. And I applaud you for being here, and I applaud you for coming along to see it, because it is quite unlike anything I've ever directed before. Helen's been in, I think we've all been involved in. So you're really watching something a little new and funky, which is cool.
I do think we're pushing some boundaries, like from all elements, like down to our cast, but like to what we're doing with all of the elements of design. Like, you don't see this very commonly, and I think that's exciting. Yeah. And to do that with a young cast who have really embraced it, and they're just phenomenal. They're so engaged and
and joyous to watch. Really, truly joyous to watch. Now, have we got any burning questions out there? Yes, right in front of me here. Hello.
Can I ask a double question? Firstly, are you publicising which cast for which night? And secondly, for the sound and lighting people, is there a difference between the two casts? Are you also going to have to worry about which cast is playing?
All right, team, I'm going to repeat that into the microphone. It was a double question. The first one was, are we publicising which cast does which night? And yes, indeed, we are. The codes for our cast are Cornelius and Hercules, and our program and our website explains which is which, but we do we have cast them, and it will be advertised on the website. And the second question was for sound and lighting. In terms of the two casts, are you having to work differently and create two different types of sound and lighting for the two different casts?
From a lighting perspective, not really, but there's been a conscious effort to make as many of the cue points as clear as possible, so that Maddie, our stage manager, can actually call them at moments that are always definitive, like that aren't kind of based on improvisation or the eccentricities of each of the cast members. That just has to be, because we've got to have a show that can repeat itself every night the same way. I'm not here every night, so it can't be changed. Mike has some bigger challenges though that you might want to talk about.
Yeah, I suppose then, apart from the cueing perspective, which is very important, where they might do slightly different moves or something like that, everything's built around them. So there's, for example, a moment in the piece where the brothers might sing a song together. We change the music based upon where they are in the lyrics. They're not playing to a click track or a predetermined thing. We build everything off them, because both casts are so different in speed and timing and how they go into that. So we're very open in this time how we built it to kind of, for us out here, it's our own playing field again. It's just really off what they do. And sometimes the cast do slightly different things or at different times. And so we're flexible to them to tell that story.
I love how responsive this company is to these young people and making it an incredible opportunity for them to play their best version of the show. It's really exciting. Any other questions floating around? Yes, over here.
Thank you so much. Go ahead. Perfect. Thank you. So I have a double question myself. The first one is, of course, I must ask, when you have an Auslan interpreter for both the casts, both the young casts, it would be, I just have to ask that and advocate for that first of all. But the next question is, because I'd love to see both casts myself, to see different versions. But I understand, I'll come anyway, either way, I'll come anyway. But the second question is that I'm really interested in the symbolism and what I've caught in my eye over the beehive bookshelves about that. So I'm just really interested in how much of that was, sorry, just again, is the interpreter correct? How much of that was a new style linking to the script or the script writing or the script writers more recently, or whether it says the ancient, mentioning something ancient thing about a beehive or the hive-like, or women, or the symbolism about the femininity and the anger and rage of a bee, etc. I don't know, but I'd like to know if that was a thing. I'd love to see that. It caught my eye instantly. But maybe because I'm deaf, I don't know.
Thank you. Beautiful question.
I am not going to lie. I wish that I had put that much thought into those beehives. I mean, truthfully, I did a lot of research on kids' bedrooms, including, I have a lot of young family members. My poor little cousins got sick of me marching into their bedrooms and just photographing them, and was like, I'm excited for you guys to get to see some of the detail that we're going to put into them. But the bookshelves themselves were actually just based on some bookshelves that I found that were in some kids' bedrooms that I thought were really interesting. But they are used to house lots of treasures and special things to the kids. So, yeah, but also they are based on the beehive and they represent women, and I love that. That's what they will be from now on.
I think what is very cool and what Chloe's worked hard on is that there's a lot of little nods to the mythos all through the bedroom. For the keen observer, there are different toys, books, and just little winks to the ancient Greek. Come see me afterwards and I'll tell you where they are. But it's really interesting. The bedhead, anyway, no, do you know what? I'm not going to tell you. It will spoil it. The joy is in discovering what matches the myth.
We did want to make a world where if you were a really big Medea fan, you would watch the show and just be like, like that tiny little moment or that detail and just get like heaps out of it and really enjoy that. But also, if you didn't know the story at all, that doesn't matter. It's not like they're beautiful details, exciting little Easter eggs that if you're a diehard fan, you'll be like, oh, that was amazing. And if you're not, it doesn't matter that you don't pick it up. So that's the kind of
And we have
world we're trying to create.
significant numbers of school groups coming to this work. You know, we have year 10, 11 and 12 students who know the Medea myth, but will they pick up on those Easter eggs? Hard to say. I'm looking forward to seeing how they respond, though. I'm sure there's going to be some Greek theatre nerds amongst us. And to answer the first part of that question, I think we need to just double check that we do definitely have interpreters. I'm looking at you, Helen Hillman, and our marketing team, that we do actually have Auslan interpreters for both casts, so we can make sure. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I have time for one more question. We are running out of time, and we need to leave time for the raffle. We have two $200 Epic Hair vouchers available through our raffle, so let's hit to our last question over here. Yes?
Queensland Theatre over the years have always respected the cast. If there's been a deep meaning or a deep story in the cast for the cast to handle, they've always offered what we've heard. I'm sure it happens. The support afterwards for the characters to be able to come back to their reality, if you like. And I suppose for the children, I'm sure there is the support for the children, but also for their families. I'm assuming you have that support.
So thank you, great question. I'll just repeat that for everyone playing along at home. Hi. The question and the comment is that Queensland Theatre historically has been quite good at ensuring the cast, when there is heavy content in a work, can debrief, and they have a process and time post-show to allow the character and the story to leave them. And the question is, we assume that the children have that, but also their families. And the short answer is yes, absolutely. So Pip, who's our producer, and Damien have been working very, very closely in the ACT, which is the Working with Children Act. We have a requirement to ensure their psychosocial hazards are limited, that there is a sense of wellness and well-being, and that any additional hazards in the workplace, being psychosocial or environmental, are mitigated, and that there is long-term process. And I think for anyone who's ever worked with young people, we know that they process more slowly. As they develop, as their brains develop, they find more weight in content. So there's certainly a lot of conversations happening with our families. Our families are very much on this journey with us. There was a process of all of the families being 100% in agreement and complicit in the content before their young person was accepted into the role. We have an EAP here at Queensland Theatre, which means we have access, all staff, all employees have access to counselling and social work services if we require them. And there's an exit process with these young people to ensure that as they finish this work and as they leave, and also the reality of post-show blues, you know, when you're in something really remarkable like a show, that cliff, I mean, Helen, you can talk to this as well, that absolute cliff of losing that ensemble, losing this routine, going back to life as normal.
It's really acute in your early shows, and I imagine for them it will be a different process, but a lot of actors with their first few shows will very much suffer that post-show blues, as we call them.
Yeah, so we've been talking with the families a lot about that. The families are really on board. We're quite lucky in that a couple of the families are kind of showbiz families, you know, and they get it and they know what they're in for and they know how to do this process. And the others, we're taking them on that journey and ensuring the safety of the young people, because it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And it will potentially for them be a lot 6 months down the track when they go, oh, that was really full on actually. Excellent question. Now, we have run quickly out of time, and I can see my friend Hannah up there with a big yellow bucket ready to draw a raffle. So, raffle tickets at the ready, everybody. It is not a chook raffle, it is not a meat tray, it is two $200 Epic Hair vouchers. I know, and Epic Hair's great. I really love them. Okay, who's drawing? Helen, I reckon you need to draw one.
Medea.
Let's get a Medea draw. I think Helen should draw both. Yes, here we go. Drum roll.
Oh my goodness, it's a purple ticket. It's F59.
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 Does anyone
come
have
on
F59?
down.
Do we have a winner?
Okay. Yes, fabulous. F59, we've spotted you. Hannah will have your voucher at box office on your way out. Okay, Medea, let's find a second one.
Here
Helen.
we go. Drum roll, please. Brrr. Oh, it's another purple ticket. It's F09. F09. Where are you?
F09. Oh,
F09.
is it pointing this way?
Brilliant.
This seating bank is the winner. Fabulous.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Love it. Thank you. Hannah in the fabulous pink framed glasses will have your vouchers at box office. Can I give you those back, Han? Thank you very much, friend. Big thank you to our incredible creatives and cast of Medea. Can we have a round of applause, please? And to our glorious young people joining us, zooming in from home. Another thank you to you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for supporting Queensland Theatre. Thank you for supporting this work. Please tell your friends and family to come twice, both casts, because they are two very different and gorgeous shows. Can I give a really big shout out and thank you to our crew and our production team who have been working tirelessly to get this up. Woohoo!
And can I just call out, I just want to call out someone who is actually leaving the company today. It's their last day today. And I just wanted to say, Yvonne Henry, who's up the back there, sitting next to Helen, she's been with this company for millions and trillions of years. She is so beautiful. She's a treasured employee. She's worked across marketing, development, philanthropy. She has been part of the marrow of this company. I just wanted to say this is your last play briefing in your official role, but please come back. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. You're amazing, Yvonne. We love you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Yvonne Henry, departing today. Thank you all for being here. Love and hug your loved ones dearly tonight. Go home safely. And we look forward to seeing you for the production
in the glass box.
weeks.
Woo! Thanks, everyone.